At 8, he killed a wild boar. At 10, he instantly defeated a demon. At 15, he single-handedly caused a nuclear explosion. Even the world-saving hero was amazed. He is today's protagonist, Shin. Before his adventure, he was just a regular office worker. One day, exhausted after work, he accidentally boarded a direct ride to another world due to a car accident. When he woke up, he was a baby in a new world. An old man adopted him. And although Shin retained memories from his previous life, they weren't very helpful. Living in the forest with his grandfather, a magician, Shin learned magic from a young age and showed extraordinary talent. By 8, he mastered spell-less magic and easily hunted wild boars. Besides learning magic from his grandfather, he learned artifact crafting from Grandma Melita and swordsmanship from Uncle Michael. At 10, Grandfather took Shin to the forest to fight monsters, teaching him full map exploration, a magic difficult to master in less than 2 to 3 years. However, Shin quickly mastered it, surpassing his grandfather's range. Meanwhile, Shin sensed a dangerous presence, a monster's magic. He quickly found a red bear monster eating, and before his grandfather could warn him, Shin charged and defeated it with a sonic blast. Even grandfather was stunned. That night, Uncle Michael was shocked to hear about the red bear. The child's magical talent was indeed extraordinary, but the grandfather cared only that Shin called him Grandpa, proudly accepting him as his grandson. The next day, grandfather had a heart-to-heart with Shin, telling him he was adopted. Shin knew already and didn't mind. Having grandfather was enough, moving Merlin to tears. 5 years passed, and at Shin's 15th birthday, friends and family gathered. Uncle with yellow hair asked Shin about his dreams. His siblings thought he could join the kingdom's knights or become a monster hunter as suggested by merchant uncle. Gray-haired uncle joked about his good looks being enough to get by, but Shin was clueless about these suggestions. He simply wanted to go to town to learn how to use money, surprising everyone since he had never shopped before. It turned out grandfather had taught him only magic, not common sense. Having spent his childhood learning magic, it was time for Merlin to showcase the results. It was time to impress. After dinner, Shin transported everyone to a training field using his original magic, astonishing everyone, especially merchant uncle, who realized if everyone could teleport, transport businesses would be doomed. And you might think that's the end, but there's more to come. Shin starts with an advanced spell, creating fire by adding oxygen. He casts magic effortlessly, without chanting, just by thinking about it. Everyone present is astonished. No one expected such casual magic from the young boy to rival the power of a nuclear explosion. Seeing his output, his friends and family hastily convene an emergency meeting, shocked by his combat power. If other countries discover his abilities, it could spark a war. Given his lack of common sense and unaware of his own extraordinary ability, Uncle with yellow hair suggests sending him to the Royal Magic Academy in the capital to learn some basics. However, the academy has a strict policy of not accepting noble privileges, so he must pass an entrance exam to gain admission. Curious about who he really is, Shin asks and discovers his family and friends are all influential figures. His sister a knight, his brother a court mage, his swordsmanship uncle a former knight commander, and the yellow-haired uncle is actually the king of the country. Shocked, Shin learns that his grandparents are famous too. His grandfather was the strongest magician, and his grandmother a captivating magical artifact instructor. Both legendary heroes who once saved the nation. But the real shock comes when he finds out that his neighbor, whom he thought was just a family friend, is actually his real grandmother. Days later, Shin and his grandparents leave their beginner village for the capital. Encouraged by his royal uncle, they travel in a carriage that seems more like a modified luxury vehicle. Upon entering the city, the grandparents' fame draws massive attention. Faced with overwhelming popularity, they quickly escape to their state-provided mansion. As they arrive, a team of maids led by a butler eagerly awaits them. Unfamiliar with these formalities, Shin decides to explore the city streets, walking with confident, unrestrained strides. As night falls and he gets lost, he hears a scream. A group of thugs is harassing a girl. True to his nature, Shin quickly intervenes, defeating the thugs and rescuing the girls, who turn out to be red and blue buffs. Although both girls are beautiful, Shin is particularly drawn to the blue-haired girl, Sicilian, because of her cuteness. Chatting reveals that all three are candidates for the Magic Academy. The red-haired girl is Maria, and Sicilian is her friend. The mutual attraction between Shin and Sicilian is evident, filling the air with the scent of romance. Soon, it's the day of the Magic Academy entrance exam. Shin arrives early at the school. At the gate, he encounters an arrogant noble who rudely confronts him. However, Shin quickly subdues him with a countermove. The noble threatens to have his father teach Shin a lesson. Just then, a man radiating golden light approaches, warning that bullying and abusing power at the academy would mean crossing the royal family. The noble, left speechless by these words, storms off angrily. This man is August, the king's son and Shin's cousin. The two quickly become close friends. The entrance exam begins, marking the first time Shin sees his peers perform magic. Various abilities are displayed, but none seem powerful. Yet each participant is brimming with confidence. When it's Shin's turn, the teacher, instructed by the king, repeatedly reminds him to restrain his power. Just hitting the target is enough. But Shin, without chanting, casually unleashes a spell akin to a mini nuclear bomb, stunning the teacher. Shin insists he was holding back, while his classmates are utterly shocked. Shin's physical invulnerability and magical prowess are unprecedented. He once saved a girl with his bare hands against a 7-meter sword and can craft spells powerful enough to rock the capital. Despite his modifications turning his magic uniform into a legendary armor, he remains unaware of his own extraordinary capabilities as he is a reincarnated individual. Despite his uncle's advice to keep a low profile, Shin tops the exam effortlessly and is placed in the top-tier S-class. During enrollment, the administrator states that the uniforms are magically enhanced and must not be altered. However, Shin smirks mischievously. That night, he modifies his uniform with new enchantments like auto-healing and absolute physical and magical defense. His first enchantment attempt is a success, much to his excitement and his grandmother's astonishment. She couldn't believe a few simple strokes could bestow the highest level of defense, making the uniform tougher than a bulletproof vest, akin to a national treasure. The next day, at the freshman ceremony, the arrival of Shin's grandparents causes a sensation across the school. His grandfather expresses his helplessness. Next up is Shin, the freshman valedictorian. He takes the stage to speak on behalf of the new students. This is when the Red and Blue sisters realize that Shin is the famous sage's grandson himself. On his very first day of school, Shin defeats Sicilian's fiancée and adds her to his harem, taking her home the same day. Truly a master of flirting. Here's what happened. After school, Maria and Sicilian approach Shin for help. Sicilian has been harassed by someone despite her repeated rejections. Seeing Sicilian's distressed state, no man could refuse to help. At that moment, the harasser appears. It's Kurt, the noble from the gate, whom Shin had previously subdued. Shin quickly intervenes, thwarting Kurt's advances. Kurt, realizing he can't beat Shin, resorts to threatening Sicilian using his father's status. Just as Shin is about to retaliate, the prince arrives and saves Kurt from a worse fate. To ensure Sicilian's safety, Shin invites her home to discuss the matter with his family. On the first day of school, he brings a girl home. At home, for safety, Shin plans to modify the girl's school uniform. Hearing this, his sorceress grandmother becomes stern, her gaze sharp. Shin's re-enchanted uniform would rival divine-level defense gear, each piece incredibly valuable. She challenges Sicilian, questioning if she feels worthy of such protection. Sicilian confesses that she had used Shin to solve her problems, feeling guilty towards everyone. She apologizes and plans to leave, but just as everyone thinks it's over, grandmother speaks again. She admires Sicilian's courage to admit her mistake. To her, it's no big deal for a woman to deceive a man. It's an absolute truth. Watching the deceived man, he's secretly thrilled. Suddenly, grandmother hugs Sicilian and even personally changes her clothes. This surprising change in attitude baffles both grandson. At 15, Shin casually modifies an artifact-level defense gear and even invents spells like teleportation, which even his grandfather can't do. But now, these powerful figures are bewildered by grandmother's puzzling actions, praising her as a visible lie detector. It seems she might firmly hold the reins of the household. Next, Shin modifies Sicilian's uniform, stunning his royal uncle who worries such equipment could trigger a massive war if misused. Following this, Shin modifies uniforms for all his classmates, except Maria, who is hesitant. Meanwhile, Sicilian feels protected just by wearing the uniform. Shin offers to escort her to and from school daily. What a way to make single folks jealous. And you thought it was over? No! Shin effortlessly waved one hand in front of the girl, showcasing his teleportation portal. Now, he could pick up and drop off Sicilian at school anytime, which was a piece of cake for him. On his very first day of school, he had already formed his harem, boldly declaring that he would take care of her school commutes from now on. Instantly, I felt like I was being hit in the face with dog food. Speaking of yesterday, Shin easily secured the top spot, kicking off a wonderful school life after his successful admission. He also took on the role of a little manservant, ensuring Sicilian's safety, and the two shared laughs and whispers along the way. Had love blossomed already? They even exchanged glances full of hidden messages, leaving Maria speechless. Upon arriving at school amidst the sour smell of romance, the teacher first briefed the new students about the school, and then introduced them to the various clubs available. There were clubs focused on attack magic, magical tools, and even one on bodybuilding. Hearing this, the tsundere prince suggested starting their own club rather than joining others. He was, after all, a future king. With him leading, they wouldn't just study magic, they might even develop atomic bombs. Once he made this remark, classmates eagerly wanted to join this yet-to-exist club, and even the teacher instantly became a fan, supporting the idea without even asking for the protagonist's consent. Club members began discussing potential research topics. Alice suggested studying heroes, meaning Shin's sage grandparents. Unfortunately, there was already a club doing that. Lin proposed focusing on Shin's original magic to study new types of magic, naming it the Ultimate Magic Research Society. This name also received the support of all fans. Thus, without Shin's agreement, the Ultimate Magic Research Society was officially established. This was the worst off a rich second generation could get. He thought the protagonist was after his top newcomer spot, but the protagonist was only interested in romance. While he failed his entrance exam and whined under the moonlight, the protagonist was in love. When he complained to his father that he was the chosen one, the protagonist was in love. Even when he was being corrupted by the Demon King, the protagonist was still in love. The antagonist expressed, "Destroy everything, hurry," and planned to cut the scriptwriter's internet connection that night. Meanwhile, our little antagonist Kurt was being scolded by his noble father for bullying at school again, receiving a good telling off. However, Kurt remained defiant, believing he was the chosen one, and wondering why commoners dared defy him. With Shin's arrival, everything changed for him. He couldn't win over the girl, and even the prince stood against him. Seeing his attitude, his father was furious and locked him up. The next day, all classmates knew about Kurt's detention, but they still struggled to accept his change. According to Kurt's middle school classmate Thor, who was under the prince, Kurt was always arrogant, but never this outrageous. The prince remarked on admitting such a troublesome kid into the club, questioning if the teacher was blind. Indeed, the club's advisor was blind, hence always wore an eye patch, yet moved with surprising ease. When discussing daily life, he is definitely the ceiling of the magic world. A trivial matter like vanquishing demons turns his classmates pale with shock. Due to his son's confinement, a mother, anxious to protect her child, hastily invites his most respected teacher, hoping for some guidance for Kurt. Although the teacher is blind, he moves with remarkable ease. After accepting the mother's request, he gives a sinister smile. As the teacher enters, he magically seals the door first, then starts to mock. "You surely are the chosen one, because you are special, specially foolish." Next, accompanied by a red light, he transforms Kurt into a demon. Meanwhile, it's lunchtime at school. Shin and Sicilian are openly displaying their affection worldwide, and all classmates have turned into cheerleaders. With Kurt detained, the prince notes that there's no danger to Sicilian anymore. Shin doesn't need to strain himself to protect her. At this, Sicilian immediately stands up, wanting to take on the role herself, stunning all classmates with her bravery and intelligence. The curiosity about Shin's power grows. When Lin casually asks if he has encountered any magical creatures, Shin modestly admits to having killed just one bear. This revelation drops jaws all around, flaunting his prowess without intention. Curiosity gets the better of one friend who asks how old Shin was when he did it. When Shin says he was 10, everyone is visibly shocked. We're all 15. Why is the difference so huge? Am I not good enough? Shin adds, further showcasing his unintended bragging. You wouldn't believe how absurd a top student can be when transported to another world. He mixes hydrogen and oxygen, ignites it with magic causing an explosion comparable to a nuclear bomb, and focuses sunlight into a deadly beam that instantly defeats the Demon King. This is Shin, the protagonist who reincarnated into another world after a recent car accident. One afternoon, Shin senses a strong demonic presence from a formidable demon, originally a rich second-generation individual now gone mad. With little to say but fierce in action, the demon launches a surprise flame attack. Unprepared, everyone fears the worst, but Shin dashes forward with a flash, using a magical shield to block the attack. Cecilian and August quickly charge their school uniforms with magic. Although they block the attack and sustain some injuries, their divine gear has self-healing abilities. Just as everyone wonders how the detained Kurt could be here, a high-energy warning comes. Kurt glows with a purple light, his eyes bloodshot, and with a howl, terrifying magic power begins to leak out. Shin instructs his classmates to evacuate immediately. Once they leave, he prepares 2 nuclear spells, but Kurt's attack is fierce. Shin easily dodges with a slide and counters with his unique mini-nuclear spell. Struck, Kurt collapses, leaving Shin surprised at how effective his modest magic turned out to be. A second later, the demon rose again, starting to taunt. Shin was instantly dumbfounded by such terrifying power. Normally, a demonized creature would only roar in pain, much like the zombies of today. But Kurt was still able to speak. Shin began to test him, taking off from where he stood as Kurt launched a powerful attack. Shin summoned a lightning bolt that severely injured Kurt. Clearly, Kurt hadn't completely lost his humanity. In his compassionate nature, Shin dodged the attack, aiming to subdue the rampaging Kurt. But Kurt, driven mad, gathered all his magical power to attempt a suicidal explosion. Had this self-destructive attack succeeded, it would have killed everyone at the school. Out of options, Shin unsheathed a 10-meter-long sword and struck, instantly defeating the demon. Although the crisis was resolved, Shin felt uneasy. Meanwhile, Oliver, who had been in the corner, showed a satisfied smile. After the battle, Shin expressed his concerns. Could becoming a demon be so easy? Thor mentioned that previously, a powerful magician had accidentally become demonized while trying to break through with a powerful spell. But Kurt was a novice and shouldn't be capable of such spells. Yet Kurt had truly become a demon and could still speak. This raised suspicions of a real-life demonization experiment. Shin planned to report his findings to the king, who coincidentally arrived to present an award to Shin for single-handedly eliminating the demon and resolving a national crisis. The king decided to bestow upon him the title of savior. However, his grandfather insisted on keeping a low profile, so the king agreed to keep the matter confidential. Yet, the next day, the news of Shin's feat was known all over. At school, classmates flocked to Shin's club, eager to be his followers. Meanwhile, the king, upon receiving Shin's suspicions, immediately convened an emergency meeting and established a special team to investigate thoroughly. The investigation quickly focused on Oliver. When questioned, Oliver, claiming to be a royal from another country who fled after a failed coup, expressed his desire to contribute to this country by teaching magic. He sincerely regretted Kurt's demonization. Hearing this, the investigator was momentarily stunned, then invited Oliver to join the investigation as an expert. Just days before, when Shin had swiftly dealt with the demonized Kurt, the king had ordered an investigation into the last person who saw Kurt. Investigators then invited Oliver as an expert to the training ground, but upon arrival, guards immediately surrounded him. Despite the situation, Oliver remained calm. The investigator explained that because of the demon incident, the king had issued a gag order and had not disclosed the name of the demonized person, so no one else should have known who it was. In a recent conversation, Oliver accurately mentioned Kurt's name, unintentionally revealing his involvement. Upon hearing this, instead of being alarmed, Oliver laughed out loud. At the same time, the protagonist Shin and his classmates happened to pass by the training ground just as an explosion occurred, creating a huge hole. Upon discovering that this blind man, Oliver, was behind Kurt's demonization, Shin responded immediately with a blue magical attack. However, Oliver blocked it entirely with a defensive spell and easily dodged Shin's sword attacks. Shin then executed an AoE spell that blasted the ground, forcing Oliver into the air. Unexpectedly, Oliver used forbidden magic to fly. Despite not being able to fly, Shin managed to hit Oliver, shattering his blindfold. Shin then saw that Oliver's eyes were the red of a demon, yet he maintained his sanity. Concluding that Oliver was indeed the demon lord, Shin used the physical principle of the sun's rays, focusing through a concave mirror, to disintegrate him instantly. Acknowledging the importance of studying physics, the demon lord, when exposed, declared he would no longer pretend to be human and threatened to annihilate everyone. Using ultimate magic, which was powerful yet avoided by the skilled Shin, the ceiling was intended to collapse. The next moment, Shin exploded with gathered energy, leaving nothing but glass where the demon lord had been. Although the demonic presence was no longer felt, Shin remained hesitant, sensing complications. The leaders of the knight and mage groups arrived and curiously asked Shin about the magic used. Shin explained it simply: focus sunlight into a ray and shoot. Everyone was baffled that sunlight could defeat a demon lord. The next day, recalling the battle details, Shin concluded the demon lord hadn't been annihilated because his major attack only left a hole, not an explosion. Realizing the demon lord might still be alive, August panicked and quickly started producing advanced equipment, relying on the economy to support their efforts to defeat the demon lord. Soon, they visited the city's strongest smithy, which belonged to their classmate Mark. Entering the store, they found not only August, but also the demon-hunting hero and sage, Shin. Mark was overwhelmed and knelt immediately. While waiting for the equipment, Shin planned a shopping trip with his girlfriend Sicilian for some jewelry. Mistaking this for a proposal, Sicilian got excited, mentioning necklaces, earrings, and rings, which startled Shin. Wondering if defensive jewelry needed so many options, Sicilian felt utterly shocked by Shin's straightforwardness, making their companions pity her. Shin selected a ring for his girlfriend and personally put it on her, holding it with both hands as a symbol of protection. He likened it to his promise of safeguarding her, charmingly capturing her heart. Since the demon lord was not eliminated, Shin decided to enhance his classmates' magical abilities, emphasizing the need for defensive magic. He first asked Maria to demonstrate a magical barrier, but it was too weak and low, barely able to withstand a single hit. Shin then asked his girlfriend to show the defensive power of her ring, enchanted by him. The classmates were astounded, as it provided not only magical, but also physical protection. Shin continued, explaining that during the recent battle with the demon lord, it was magical defenses that had blocked his own powerful mini-nuke spell. He encouraged his classmates that with sufficient magical power, they too could perform advanced magical defenses. To inspire them further, Shin slightly boasted, declaring the start of rigorous training. The man before them, with a flick and a fiery gaze, could obliterate even emperors, with a shockwave that could demolish castles, proving his invincibility as a demon lord. The prosperous capital was flattened in an instant by him. However, during Shin's recent battle at age 15 against the demon lord, even his unique mini-nuke spell, while powerful, failed to kill the demon lord, who only suffered minor external injuries. Meanwhile, the neighboring empire, hearing rumors of monsters in Shin's kingdom, declared war, hoping to seize the opportunity. But as the battle raged, the empire's capital was suddenly attacked by a large number of monsters. The emperor realized too late that he had been tricked, ordering a retreat to protect their stronghold. But by the time they reached the imperial capital, it was already too late. What once was a thriving city had become ruins. The mastermind behind all this was the former exiled royal of the empire, now the demon lord Strom, who effortlessly annihilated the emperor. Soon, the kingdom's troops arrived at the devastated imperial capital, only to retreat in fear of the numerous demons they encountered. The king ordered a national alert, preparing for constant readiness against monsters. To enhance overall combat capability, the Magical Academy was required to train jointly with the Knight Academy, aiming to improve cooperation during combat. The students were reluctant to hear this news. Historically, Scholars and warriors were distinct. Magicians focused all their attributes on intelligence, while knights prized physical strength. The knights mocked the magicians for their frailty beyond their magic, and the magicians viewed the knights as simple-minded. Despite the mutual disdain for the well-rounded Shin, this was a minor issue. Favored by fate, he was taught magic by his great wizard grandfather, enchantments by his famous magician grandmother, and even the uncle who taught him swordsmanship is a national sword saint. How can anyone else compete? The day of departure for training quickly arrived. Each of the two academies sent 4 students to participate in the team training. This session involved entering a small forest to hunt monsters together. Shin, surrounded by beauties, and known as the heroic grandson, was looked down upon by the students of the Knight Academy. "He's just a magician," they scoffed, dismissing his prowess as no more than that of a sprouting bean. By coincidence, 4 little sprouts and 4 muscular men ended up sharing one vehicle. Already not on good terms, Shin, not satisfied with the tense atmosphere, provoked them further by asking, "Have you ever fought monsters?" This direct challenge left the knight's female companion speechless, as she retorted, "What's there to show off? Aren't you just someone who has fought a couple of demons? We knights can slay monsters without any mage's help." Unable to stand the arrogance any longer, August suggested, "Then you knights can fight on your own in the upcoming real battle." His statement immediately silenced everyone. Soon they reached their destination. Given the dangers of the training, the kingdom also sent 2 teachers for guidance and to protect the students. These were Christina, captain of the knights, and Marquez, a mage, who were also known as Shin's childhood rivals. Despite their adherence to the principle of scholars and warriors not mixing, they still clashed upon meeting. The real battle training started shortly thereafter. August declared, "Challenge yourselves and others." He then suggested to the teachers that the knights should fight alone first to understand the importance of support. The teachers, amused, agreed. Not long after entering the forest, Shin sensed the presence of monsters. The knights prepared themselves for battle. Soon, a wild boar charged at them. The knights, seeing a monster for the first time, were visibly nervous, too scared to breathe, while Shin taunted, "Too bad, it would have been delicious if it wasn't demonic." As they faced the boar, the knights planned a group attack. But before they could act, the boar knocked down a female knight with a powerful kick, and then delivered a headbutt, causing the entire knight team to fall. As the boar prepared for another attack, Shin quickly drew his giant 66.66-meter sword and killed it with one strike, stunning the knights. Christina, not yet satisfied with the impact, commented, "This pig was just the lowest of the monsters here." Following the old adage of a candy after a slap, the mage Sicilian quickly used her healing magic on them. Her gentle demeanor instantly charmed the geeky boys, making Shin feel incredibly jealous. Meanwhile, Marquez issued a stern warning, "The monsters are coming!" Shin then discovered that it was not just a few monsters, but an army, led by at least 100 tiger demons. Unfortunately for the tiger demons, they were unlucky to face such a formidable opponent. Before the cheated monsters, they are nothing but little brothers. At this moment, Shin was extremely angry with no outlet for his rage. So, he volunteered to fight against 100 enemies. Upon hearing this, his classmates were instantly ruffled. "You're strong, but you're still human," they said. "Let's use a small nuclear bomb we haven't seen in a while." The angry Shin then vented on them. With this move, the monster army was wiped out instantly, and everyone's jaws dropped. The female knight put away her pride and promptly apologized, also ending all the nerdy boys' fantasies. "Sorry for bothering your boyfriend," she said. Seeing Sicilian's blushing face, the 3 men realized they had no chance. This is what a true master looks like. This is the most ruthless cheating I've ever seen. Not only does he easily conjure a nuclear bomb, he cheats all the way, and now even leads his classmates in cheating. It's just too cool. I have to ask, do you take apprentices? Just now, the protagonist Shin demonstrated super-tier magic to the classmates from the Knight Academy, showing them what cheating looks like. The knights were immediately subdued and changed their arrogant attitudes. They finally understood the need to cooperate with mages. Thus, those who previously struggled even with a pig now could match up against a bear. As the cooperation between warriors and mages increased, The guiding teachers, Marquez and Alice, were comforted. The performance of August and the red and blue buffs was particularly impressive. Curious, Marquez asked Shin, "I thought you were the only one cheating. How come now all your classmates seem to be cheating too?" Shin simply replied, "I just set up an ultimate magic research society and gave some tips to the members." Hearing this, Marquez realized Shin was holding exclusive sessions. But Shin didn't just teach his grandfather's training techniques, he also shared his own magical insights. Enlightened by Shin's insights, Marquez, despite his teacher status, eagerly asked Shin to teach him as well. Shin, puzzled, readily agreed. However, August interfered, reminding that the king had promised not to use Shin for military purposes. August, as the future king, insisted on learning a few tricks for the good of the people. If everyone cheats, there's no need for demons. Cheating would end the world if used in battle, he said, and reminded Shin not to teach others anymore for the sake of world peace. Marquez, resigned to the fact that he couldn't learn the cheating techniques, asked if he could at least learn some of the great mages' training techniques. August chuckled and said, "That's easy. Practice magic control every day, persistently step by step. You'll see results soon." Marquez was momentarily stunned, thinking August was joking. This magic control is just a basic exercise for beginners, he thought. Seeing Marquez's skeptical look, August called over two sisters to demonstrate. Marquez was astounded by their dual defense, which he would find difficult to achieve himself. August then explained, "This is the result of increasing controllable magic power." Maria made things even more awkward for the teacher by throwing in a needless comment, "It's just child's play." Upon hearing this, Marquez felt instantly depressed, but quickly adjusted his attitude and declared he would start from scratch. "You think it's over?" he asked. "The real action is still to come." At this point, other members of Shin's Magic Research Society were also cheating during the group training exercises. In the second group, 4 male students initially despised the mages and, despite the teacher's objections, decided to fight alone. They intended to impress gracefully but were ambushed by wolves. The mage students responded with a barrage of fireballs, stunning the onlookers. In the deepest part of the forest, the magic and knight academies trained together. The third group, consisting of female and male students, should have worked well together. But the knights, being straightforward, not only criticized the mage girls as weaklings, but also harassed them, leaving the girls speechless. The knights were good at teasing and mocking the female students, but when they faced monsters, the roles were reversed, and the monsters teased them. The mages found the knights a nuisance and decided to intervene. After a burst of intense light and a cloud of dust, a few moves were enough to thoroughly convince the knights, and no one would criticize the little sprouts again. However, the scene shifted because they fought too fiercely and couldn't hold back, turning the 4 beauties into blooming cauliflowers. After the joint training session, August revealed a secret. Due to the increasing number of powerful demons, the kingdom planned to incorporate mages into the combat troops, especially members of Shin's Ultimate Magic Research Society. Aside from Shin, all other members would join a special forces unit directly under August after graduation. In short, the students had secure jobs even before graduating. These positions were already assigned, and the next step was to enhance their combat abilities. Although their strength had improved recently, it was still far from sufficient to face the countless fearsome undead demons. Therefore, Shin proposed a live-in training camp over the summer vacation. "I know exactly what you're up to," he said recently, planning to train the students to cheat during this camp. August then informed the students that demons were currently rampaging in a neighboring country, and after each attack, their numbers were increasing, much like zombies. To counter this, Shin decided to teach the students en masse to cheat. They chose the Sicilian family's hot spring sanctuary as the training site. That evening, when Shin shared his plans with his grandparents, they were initially unhappy about it, especially the mage grandmother who said, "It's not ideal for young men and women to live under the same roof." So, she decided to accompany them reluctantly, and the grandfather quickly agreed to join. Without further ado, the next day, the 2 elders led the novice group. With the enhancement of the mage grandmother's magical tools, the horses could instantly recover their stamina and speed up, and if all went well, they would arrive by that evening. The students showered Grandma with compliments, making her blush. I just want to say, isn't teleportation great? This is a mass training session for producing cheaters. At that moment, Shin, who had been meditating, suddenly awoke, sensing a demonic presence around them. It turned out that the carriage was surrounded by a pack of demon wolves. These rookie monsters eagerly raised their hands, each wanting to show off. Eventually, they decided by drawing lots, and Lin was quickly chosen. Lin did not disappoint, taking out the wolf pack with one move. The two elders were surprised that their grandson had trained someone to defeat monsters in a single hit. Afterward, training began with the great sage teaching magic control, followed by the magic instructor on enchantment magic. Soon the students significantly improved their combat abilities. In the magic test, everyone could cast spells without chanting, just outputting magic power directly. Even so, considering Shin was facing the Demon King and his team of berserk demons, he decided to enhance his own powers too. Upon hearing this, the students quickly backed away several hundred meters, with Maria assuming a full defensive stance, fearing any misfire could turn her into collateral damage. However, Shin calmly demonstrated what it means to cheat. Everyone braced for the shockwave, and after charging up, a strong burst of light released immense energy. Such a huge commotion made Grandma hit him on the spot. Goodness, the mountains were directly penetrated. This left the students dumbfounded. Any misfire could have obliterated them. After training, August suggested that Shin use the portal to take him back to the capital to gather information about the demons. But as soon as they stepped out of the portal, they encountered a shapely woman. Just now, Shin used the portal to bring August back to the capital. But upon exiting, they met the woman with a great figure, August's fiancé. She saw August and her adrenaline surged, scolding her boyfriend for silently attending a summer camp. However, she was very respectful towards the hero, Shin. Then another sister came along, insisting on going to the hot spring sanctuary with August's fiancé. August said that was a national issue and questioned why bring family along. He decisively refused, but the next second his father allowed them to go. August was furious. Then, August and his family instantly teleported to their destination. But Shin was curious why they insisted on coming. It turned out the little princess was a huge fan of Mage Grandma and had come for star chasing. August's fiancé's goal was simpler, to keep an eye on her little boyfriend and drive away other women. Shin understood this very well, as there were indeed many girls in the group. But the one they were most wary of was Shin. Ever since August met Shin, his constant praise of Shin had already made August's fiancée quite jealous. Shin never expected he would be the jester himself. Compared to the straightforward Shin, August was definitely a warm man with high EQ. Upon seeing his wife upset, he calmly said that being with her was the happiest. Oh ho, the affection was unexpected. Moreover, during a meal, August even encouraged Shin to be proactive and confess his feelings to Sicilian. When they returned to the villa, Grandma saw how adorable the fan princess was and complained about how naughty Shin was as a child. As soon as she mentioned it, the focus shifted. Sicilian couldn't sit still and said, "My and Shin's baby would definitely be adorable, not mischievous." Sicilian, realizing later, blushed deeply. Shin finally understood his girlfriend's thoughts. Late at night, Shin was admiring the moon. Coincidentally, Sicilian was at the pavilion, enjoying the breeze. Soon they addressed the unspoken between them, just about to kiss, when the spying team revealed themselves. The next day, at the training ground, Shin was up to something again, scaring his classmates into high alert. To counter the Demon King's flying ability, Shin planned to study a new magic, Dragon in the Sky. Then, with a magic ring under his feet, he took off just by opening his eyes. His classmates were speechless. Soon it was almost time for the final practical exam. Thus, Shin equipped everyone with special gear. This was no ordinary uniform. It could resist high-level magic, turn invisible, and even regulate temperature. Now that they had mastered powerful techniques and buffs, Shin led them into the jungle to cheat. They hadn't gone far when a top-tier, catastrophic monster appeared, the Magic Lion. But the students attacked calmly, and the lion was baffled, defeated without even a strike, leaving nothing but a large hole as a grave. Even they couldn't believe they had turned a top monster into dust, and that was just with the help of the 5 supports. Then, it was the 6 attackers' turn, facing off in individual combat. The cheating squad was officially born. Meanwhile, the neighboring empire had been completely overrun by the Demon King. The Demon King's wish was fulfilled, but his minions' ambition was still growing. The strongest mage group prepared for battle with the demons. But could they, at only 15, really defeat the Demon Lord's army without blinking? Just now, under the Demon King's leadership, the empire had completely fallen, and the Demon King, having achieved his purpose, prepared for a truce. However, the demonized poor minions were not satisfied and wanted to continue invading other kingdoms. The Demon King simply said, "Whatever." So, the minions began invading neighboring small countries. At the same time, during August's official heir ceremony, he received news of demons ravaging the kingdom's borders. Thus, August decided to lead the mage group to the borders to save the day. In that moment, August reassured the public, adding a bit of showmanship. "We already possess the power to defeat demons. Don't panic, just trust our cheating strength." To reassure the public, August signaled Shin to make a flashy entrance using flight magic. As expected, the citizens cheered wildly. Meanwhile, as signaled by a flare, the demon army had also reached the border. Led by the squad leader Scarface, they launched an attack. Unexpectedly, the guards had Shin's defensive artifacts. Soon the cheating squad arrived, but the demons had already invaded the city and begun their rampage. In the midst of battle and smoke, a young mother desperately fled with her daughter, while two demons leisurely pursued, shooting and mocking humanity. As the mother and daughter's strength waned, they were on the verge of death. Unexpectedly, in front of them, a group of overpowered characters were waiting. Just then, when the demon thought it was game over, a pair of invisible feet appeared, and with one kick, the demon was dead. Turning around, he realized that what fell from the sky weren't ghosts, but two rascals, which made him laugh. Then he died. Seeing the ruined town, Shin was filled with anger and prepared for a massacre. He set up his tactics and then gave the order. "Sorry demons, the cheating squad is about to cheat." The hardcore mages paired up, increased their attacks, and unleashed powerful moves, starting with a triple demon elimination combo. The first group, the women's team, searched and found their target, then attacked, only to be mocked by the enemy for being flat-chested, which angered them into instantly killing him. The second group came on, freezing and then instantly killing their foe. The third group, a couple, faced demons who never expected them to be so formidable. At this time, only August's group encountered some trouble. The demon squad leader, Scarface, mistook August for the mage group's leader, believing in capturing the leader first. August just chuckled, saying, "You're wrong, I'm just an August." Then his teammate Maria launched a sneak attack with a fireball, but Scarface, being the demon boss, had some skills. In a moment of carelessness by Maria, Scarface smashed her into a wall. Thanks to Shin's magical garment, Maria was unharmed. Then Maria delivered a stunning nuclear strike, engulfing the area in flames. Just when they thought it was game over, unexpectedly, Scarface blocked the attack with a stolen Shin artifact. This amusing incident occurred, using the spear taught by Shin against Shin's shield. This move was brilliant. However, August and Maria focused, came up with a plan, and started with a rapid-fire flame attack. Then Maria distracted Scarface, and August delivered a deadly blow, finishing the demon squad leader. At this moment, Shin, cheating, took on 4 enemies alone, killing each with a single blow, and even just by pinching a little. Seeing this, the demons watching from behind were terrified. Is this still a human? Thus, the demons at the border were annihilated. Meanwhile, the second in command of the demon world, watching everything from outside the city, had a mental breakdown. He thought there was only one monster overpowered, but it turned out to be a group of monster elites. Having no choice, he sent out the strongest demon warrior, the witch. Shin, leading the mage elite squad to the border, gave the demons a severe beating. At that moment, the city gates burst open, and the season's biggest boss, the witch, made a stunning entrance. At the same time, Shin also sensed a tremendous magical power. As soon as the witch entered the city, she unleashed her combat power, and ordinary soldiers couldn't withstand a single blow. Even novice mages tasted defeat. Then, the nearby flat-chested sisters rushed to help, although their combat power was not weak. Against a professional witch, they could only be worn down. Sure enough, Soon Alice was caught by the witch, becoming a literal human shield. Teammates hesitated to intervene. Meanwhile, Shin was effortlessly hunting demons. In front of him, these demons were inferior. Just as Shin was about to chase down the escaping demons, he noticed a fierce battle nearby. His teammates seemed to be struggling. At that moment, teammates Tony and Yuri arrived to rescue Alice, attacking from behind. Their effort was in vain. The witch teleported and broke through Tony's defense with a punch, sending him crashing into a wall. Lin tried to retaliate but ended up sandwiched. As the witch was about to finish Tony, Alice teleported in front of him, blocking the attack, but was knocked unconscious by flying debris. Fortunately, Shin arrived just in time. Had he been a moment later, he would have missed the gathering at the village entrance. Enraged, his adrenaline surged, and he went straight into battle. The witch attacked swiftly, forcing Shin to retreat under her rapid strikes. Following a fiery explosion from the witch, Shin was on the defensive but managed to wound her. At this moment, August and others arrived to help. Seeing this, the witch smirked and chose to retreat. She knocked down Maria with a teleport and fled into the sky. Before leaving, she attempted to unleash an explosive spell. Seeing the witch's powerful move and his injured teammates, Shin chose to protect them, creating a strong barrier to shield everyone. The retreating demon army also suffered heavy losses due to support from the team. The Demon King, observing all, felt rekindled fighting spirit from Shin's performance. Thus, the battle against the demons was temporarily victorious. Meanwhile, Sicilian was healing the wounded with recovery magic, but felt helpless about one man's severe injuries. Faced with his desperate wife, Sicilian's compassion overflowed, and she removed her clothes, revealing self-healing magic in her divine gear to treat the wounded. Shin hurried to protect his girlfriend, barely preventing a misunderstanding. Shin admitted that even with divine gear, he couldn't heal such severe injuries. He smiled and took over, healing the wounded with a green glow and manual laser treatment. In seconds, the patient stabilized. The battle ended, and the old king thanked the heroes. August then suggested forming an alliance against the demons, knowing the team's free protection was desirable. Shin reflected post-battle, wishing he could have used his teleportation door to arrive sooner and reduce casualties. However, the limitation of the door is that it only transports to known locations. Thus, Shin decided to travel the world and establish teleportation points, aligning perfectly with August's intentions. Upon their return to the capital, they were warmly celebrated nationwide, with the king personally commending them. August seized the opportunity to volunteer as an ambassador, lobbying other nations to join the anti-demon alliance. Thus, Shin and his team of mages, under the watchful eyes of the king and the crowd, took off from the ground, embarking on a new journey.